Alright, well, I'm obviously quite late to the party with this one, but I recently picked up God of War 2018 after so many people telling me that this thing is a masterpiece and I have to play it, and why haven't I played it yet? So, yeah, I decided to give it a playthrough. It's only like fucking $24 now. So, I thought, what the fuck, I'll give it a go. And I'm well aware I'm going to piss off a lot of people with this review, because for whatever reason everybody seems to love this game, and fucked if I know why. But look, let's start with, I guess, the one positive aspect I actually can say about it is it's fucking pretty. It's a good looking game. Yeah, if the game was a person, it'd be Jennifer Aniston or Britney Spears in the 90s before she got all fucking weird and shaved her head and shit. But yeah, unfortunately that's where the enjoyment ended for me. Just to give you a background, I'm a big fan of games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, pretty much anything from Software. And I really like the challenge of, a difficult game. You've been stuck on a boss for hours and you're ready to throw your controller through the fucking TV. But through persistence and endless cursing at the TV, it's a rewarding feeling when you finally manage to take that fucker down through well-timed dodging, parrying and attacking. God of War is difficult for all the wrong reasons. It's kind of like stretching your foreskin over a cactus and then fucking a hornet's nest. It's challenging, but it's not fun. After investing quite a few hours into God of War, it kind of just felt like it didn't know whether it wanted to be a From Software game or a Naughty Dog game, and as a result, it just fucking fails at both. In terms of the changes they made from the old school hack and slash God of War titles, I don't mind that. Games need to evolve with the times, and I get that. But if it wanted to be a narrative-driven title like The Last of Us, for example, it usually helps to have a story that has some fucking depth. God of War is about as deep as a script written by Tommy Wiseau.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
And with that said, let's discuss the story, or lack thereof. Let me summarize it for you. Climb up a mountain to scatter the ashes of some dead slut who you as a player never actually got to see and therefore form any kind of connection with during the game. Why do I even give a fuck about this character? Anyway, throughout this fascinating journey, you'll be privy to some incredible dialogue between Kratos and Atreus, Kratos' son. You can watch Kratos utilize his extensive vocabulary as he grunts convincingly at Atreus and refer to him as boy rather than call him by his actual fucking name for some reason. And speaking of that, did Kratos just assume Atreus' gender? He never even asked Atreus of the preferred pronoun to which he would like to be referred.
Dad, I'm actually a non-binary cisgender female transmasculine zebra.
The fuck?
Well, fuck you, Kratos, you gender-phobic motherfucker. The combat actually had potential to be outstanding with great mechanics like the Leviathan axe throw and recall. But with the extremely bland and uninspiring enemy design, this adds very little value to the underwhelming gameplay experience. The enemies are all just fucking damage sponges, and it results in long, overly drawn out combat that becomes boring and fucking repetitive very quickly. When you're sitting there playing a game and you start to wish that you're playing Life of Black Tiger instead, there's a problem. Even many of the boss fights, though they look impressive, They're just plain robotic and follow the same pattern of attacks. In addition to this, a lot of the enemy design is just fucking lazy, and rather than come up with fresh ideas, the development team clearly just copy and pasted some Hollywood A-listers into their game. The Stranger was clearly heavily inspired by Ewan McGregor, the Trolls, obviously Rosie O'Donnell, and the drugs, whatever the fuck these things are called, are practically identical to Steve Buscemi. A boss fight is supposed to be exciting and an opportunity to execute the array of skills you developed throughout the game up to that point. Unfortunately, the only thought I had when encountering a boss was, fuck, here's another enemy with a shit ton of health. I don't want 5 fucking cutscenes in between fighting Ewan McGregor. Just fuck off and let me progress in the fucking game! Fuck! Anyway, let's move on and discuss the open world, if you can even call it that. God of War gave me no incentive or desire to explore anywhere outside of the direct route I was required to follow in order to progress through the main quest line. Most of the crates that I opened rarely contained anything of interest, and in addition to this, most of the time I was required to complete some kind of mundane puzzle in order to open said crates. Now, I'm by no means against puzzle solving in video games, but fuck me bloody. These puzzles were about as interesting as reading through the fucking Bible. All these puzzles serve to do is piss you off and break the flow of combat. And I know that's a little hypocritical of me to say, given I've already complained that I didn't like the combat, but I'd much rather be throwing my axe at Steve Buscemi than at some fucking symbols to open up a crate for very little reward. Next up we have the upgrade system, which at first glance actually looks overly complex and maybe even a touch overwhelming, but in reality it's very simplistic, and as a result upgrading Kratos and Atreus was pretty dull and uninspiring to say the least. Now, speaking of Atreus, I can honestly say I have never fucking hated a video game character as much as I fucking hate that arrogant, disobedient little cunt. Every cutscene where I was forced to stare at his fuck ugly little head and listen to his whiny fucking voice just irritated the living fuck out of me. Maybe if the main point of the game was to burn this little cunt alive and throw his ashes off the edge of the mountain rather than his dead whore of a mother, I would have enjoyed it more. I bought this game wanting a God of War experience, not a fucking parenting simulator. If that were the case, I wouldn't be playing video games, I'd choose to spend time with my own kid. Okay, I'm gonna start wrapping this up by giving my opinion as to how this clusterfuck of a game could have been improved. Reasonably early on you'll meet Freya, this bangin' witch who lives inside some giant fuck-off turtle thing. Anyway, for me, this is the point of the game where the developers really could have utilized the opportunity to take the game in a more innovative direction and break away from the monotonous combat and puzzle solving aspects of the game. Here's what I would have done. After meeting that tidy little piece of meat candy Freya, the journey from that point onwards should have taken a new turn. Instead of continuing up the mountain, the rest of the game should have been centered around snorting your dead wife's ashes off of Freya's tits, in between violently sodomizing and beating the fuck out of Atreus, who's tied up in the corner of the room. Your rage meter would fill when you snort enough of your dead wife, and this would then allow you to really inflict some serious damage on Atreus. The player could then choose from a large range of devastating finishing moves to end that little motherfucker for good. Here are just a few options that the player could choose from once their rage meter fills.
Number 1. You can rip off the little fucker's limbs, tie a rope around his neck, and hang him up like a punching bag. You can then beat the living fuck out of him until he coughs up his insides. Number 2. You can use your Leviathan axe to cave in the back of his skull. You can then stick your thick, pasty cock in the open wound, and while using his brain matter as some kind of chunky lubricant, you can skull fuck the back back of his head until you fill it with your hot guard load. Number 3. You can hold the skinny little cunt down while you cut out his eyes with a rusty fishhook. While he's screaming, begging you to stop and yelling, "Please, Dad, I love you!" You can piss into his open eye sockets. And number 4, you can slowly lower the little bitch into an industrial wood chipper feet first and bathe in the bloody mess while you vigorously stroke your erect godlike cock.
Now, I understand that my version of the game obviously still has a few kinks that would need to be worked out before it could be released, and certain aspects may have trouble getting through the ESRB rating system. But the point I'm trying to make is that Santa Monica Studios clearly did not take advantage of the endless possibilities they had at their disposal. Prior to playing God of War, I had never felt the desire to murder a child, obviously with the exception of that kid from the Babadook. Seriously, fuck that kid. His poor mother couldn't even flick the bean in peace without that annoying little cunt screaming about something. Anyway, I'll wrap this up by giving this game an honest score out of 10, seeing as how Sony have paid off just about every reviewer to suck this game's dick and give it a perfect score. Out of 10, I give this game an overall score of 3, and I think that's fucking generous, seeing as how playing this game resulted in me getting cancer. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to leave me probably a dislike, I'd imagine, and a comment telling me that I'm an Xbox fanboy. Don't really give a fuck. But in conclusion, fuck this game, fuck everyone who defends it, and most importantly, fuck Atreus. Alright, now that we're done with God of War, for those of you like me who don't ever plan on putting this fucking atrocity back in their PS4, I did find a use for the disc, so yeah, just chuck it back in its case, like so, and take it over, and you can just open up your toilet like this, chuck it in there, yep, that's it. Now, every time you go to the bathroom, you can take aim at Atreus and piss all over the little cunt's face. So, speaking of which, I need to relieve myself. It's fucking awkward. Alright. Take that, you little cunt. I can drink my piss. I piss on like 3 different angles. Fucking hell. I've got a fucking Prince Albert. There we go. Shake off all the fucking drips onto that little cunt's face. Yeah, take that. There we go. And then just fucking flush the bowl.